Hey everyone, thank you very much for stopping by. Thank you very much for clicking on this video. TohirT's here, this is the TohirT channel. And you know what? Weather still is not cooperating. But it doesn't matter, because today we're gonna talk about art. No, not that kind of art. I wanna talk about video games. And no, not that kind of video games. You see why I actually wanted to cover this topic? Because it's very easy to ignore the fact that today's modern day video games are a true compilation of different art forms, different art styles and inspirations. And this is why I wanted to have a brief video to talk a little bit about my point of view and why you should give video games a second chance and a second look when you start thinking about which media is a true form of art. My first introduction to a video game started when my parents brought back Atari 2600. You know, that game where you would have this guy swinging on different grapevines or whichever vines they are, trying to jump over the animals, holes and bog fields of sorts. So that was the very first gaming console that I had a chance to play on. Later on, USSR and post-Soviet countries, the area where I was actually born, start importing Dendy, which is essentially a localized version of NES, and I get to experience a broader collection of video games there. And I remember things like Dune, which was my favorite. I remember things like, I'm pretty sure Red Alert was already on that console, Hercules I think, and Aladdin, and I'm trying to remember if Aladdin and Lion King were on Dendy or Sega, because later on I actually moved on to Sega. And after Sega we took a break, we didn't buy any consoles up until the moment when we were able to actually afford the first proper gaming PC, or I think it was educational PC, which later on turned into being a gaming PC. And even then, when we got that personal computer, I did not necessarily thought of video games as a form of art. I really thought of it as this kind of like, you know, chips, this kind of like snack entertainment where you just pick up the controller, you play it for a little while and you drop it. I did not think that the gaming can be an art form. And that impression lasted until I encountered a very specific game in my life. I think that song still gives me goosebumps, and I'm pretty sure I still hear the sound of the steps on the pavement. The memories. When I heard that theme song, I thought to myself, wait a second, this is a video game? This is really, truly a video game with this high production value score. I'll have to try it, I have to start it. And I started the game. You start exploring the area around you, and I still remember how impressed I was with the textures, with the design of the video game. There was this person who's asking me for my name. I go through different stages of the intro sequence. People ask me about my zodiac sign, they ask me about my traits, about my backstory, and then from then on, they just let me out. And there's this whole world for me to explore. And the further we've explored this game with my sister, the further I think I personally realized that this is no longer a video game. This is an art. You have this amazing score and the music produced. You have all the sound designs. You have the real story. You have different art styles represented in the video games. And consider the fact that we grew up in the post-Soviet countries. We did not have as much of an exposure to different video games that were being developed and released around the same time. So back in early 2000s, that was one of the first real true video games that we've experienced, and it just completely blew our minds. The more curious I grew about this industry, the more I realized about the depth, the complexity, the spectrum of different art styles and different art forms that are influencing video games back then in early 2000s. And now, if you just think about the fact that today, in this 2018 year, you see video games which are on par with the top-notch, high-grossing Hollywood movies. In terms of the complexity, in terms of the quality, in terms of the talent that was involved in creating those video games, and even the budgets, with close to $100 million budgets to produce a single game, the whole evolution is just amazing. I've seen with my eyes the art styles and the drawings in video games which were on par with the top artists. I've heard the voice acting which was on par with other acting in movies and cartoons, the music and sound effects which were on par as well, and the storytelling that touched me, all those stories that I lived through, all those experiences that I've sat there in front of the TV and consumed were on par with the best books or movies that I've experienced. And believe me, I'm not the only one. Video games still hold a lot of records when it comes to sales. Video games hold the record for the fastest sale through in 24 hours. I think it's something over $500 million sold in 24 hours of a single video game. And even today, in 2018, a video game, GTA 5, Grand Theft Auto 5, became the most profitable media asset. It grossed over $5 to $6 billion. Yes, billion dollars with a B. Boom. This is just completely off the chain compared again back in the days to the inception of the video game industry. And again, I do not believe that the dollar values should represent or prove whether a particular media is an art form or not. But I believe that high revenues, high box office numbers, and high sell-through rates actually prove that there is an interest out there in public. There are people out there who consider this particular media form an art or something worth the investment. Meanwhile, today, I wanted to focus on expressing my passion. I wanted to focus on expressing my opinion on this matter and showing you my point of view on why video games should be considered an art form. Some of us think of an art as something that was produced, something that is tangible, we can touch it, smell it, or feel it. But I think the true art form can also come in the form of ones and zeros. Do you agree with me? Do you have other forms of media that you fell in love with while others were not really considering them as equal and on par with other art forms? That was my story. Please feel free to share yours because I'm very curious to hear what your thoughts are on the video games industry as well as other art forms. Thank you very much for stopping by and checking out this video. Please like it, share it with your friends. If you're new to this channel, go ahead and subscribe. Check out some of the videos in the backlog. If you're already a subscriber, thank you very much for coming back. As always, let me know in the comments below what you thought about this video, and I will see you all next Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern on this very channel. Peace, peace, peace.
Wake up. Stand up. There you go. You were dreaming. What's your name? Well, not even last night's storm could wake you. I heard them say we reached Morrowind. I'm sure they'll let us go. Quiet. Here comes the guard.
This is where you get off. Come with me.